from there and being relatively unknown. And then you get on The Ultimate Fighter Season 5. The Ultimate Fighter was huge. What was it like going from, okay, I'm fighting on these cards and I've got fans, but you know, I'm still kind of new to the sport too. I'm going to have a camera follow me around 24 hours a day and fight every couple of days.
Oh, I hated it. I hated it. I wanted nothing to do with this show. They wanted my brother to go on the season before. It was a comeback show with Chris Lytle, Matt Serra, and all these guys. And Nick was like, I'm not going on that show. We had already made fun of the whole Diego Sanchez and Josh Koscheck, all these guys. And we're like, why would you ever go on that stupid show? Because we were like real fighters too, like where we were already going to party with all the homeboys, and we're like, we don't like them, we don't even talk to them, and if we see them, it's on site, you know. Right. So it was like real good, like crazy like that. So I was like, I'm not gonna hang out in no house with a bunch of fighters without just fighting them on running into my room and someone's getting hit. Like, you know, not even to sound tough or anything, but that's just how it was. And we were just making fun of it. We're like, this is ridiculous. Why would you ever do that? And then they called. They're like, hey, we want Nate on season 5. And they called Caesar and they called Nick. And they're like, hey, we want him on season 5. And when they told me, I just laughed at them like I was Nick still. I was like, going on that. I'm not going on that show. And then Nick and Caesar look at me and they're like, I think you should go on that show. And I was like, what the? I was like, you guys, we were just making fun of this show together, you know? I was like, I'm not going on that show. They both looked at me like it was some life-changing stuff. Like, I think you should go on that show. And then I looked at Nick like, about Caesar, like, this guy, and he's like, yeah, I think you should go on that show. I was like, what the? You guys are turning on me now. You're putting me on a show. And like I said, I didn't want to be on the camera. I was like, I didn't want no attention. I didn't want to even, I was halfway antisocial, you know. I was like, I don't even want to talk to nobody that I don't know, you know. And I was 20 years old at the time. I was about to turn 21. And Caesar's looking at me like, just go in there. They pay for your medicals. And I had to fight and get medical money to pay for my medicals the next year. I was already fighting. I think I had 7 fights at the time. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go get my medicals. And then everybody else was trying out. And they're like, you don't have to try out because then why was they saw me fight Hermes Franca, who was just like a top contender in the UFC. They're like, just do the medicals and you're on. And I was like, I don't want on. So I did the medicals. And I came home and they're like, you're on. And then it got closer to the time. And they're like, I was like, I'm not going on that show. They're like, go on it and just see how it is and then dip out if you feel like leaving. Just go. They like manipulated the hell out of me. Caesar was the one. He was like, just go on that. Nick was like, just do it. And just didn't even talk to me about it. So I walked on the show. And I planned on like, that night we went in and we did tryouts. I worked everybody over in the tryout. And I was like, that was easy. And I think, all right, I'll hang out for another day. And then they picked teams the next day. And then when they picked teams, Jen was like, hey, let's do first thing, let's pick who we're going to fight. And I was supposed to fight Joe Lozon first. And I was like, okay, because Joe Lozon was favored to win the show because he had already knocked out Jen. Yep. And I was like, okay, I'll fight Joe, and then I'll leave. Cause you know what I'm saying? I was like, I'll beat the guy who's supposed to win it, and then I'll leave. 1, 2, 3, I was like, well, now I'm just gonna look scared if I leave and they pick the fights. So I was like, I ain't scared. I'll stick around. I'm gonna fight him and leave. And then I got into it with the one guy.
You want to fight? Let's go. On the house.
And I ended up switching up the whole thing. I fought the one guy. And then when I beat him after a win, you're like, I could kick it for a few days. You know, you're chilling. And I don't have to diet down. I get a few days to eat and stuff. I'm like, and then one thing led to another and the whole show went by. And accidentally, I was like good TV or something. And I was like just being just normal.
Trying to be all cool. All of a sudden you want to fight me for no reason?
Get out of here, man.
What'd you say?
Dude, I'm gonna pop him if he gets near me. How about that?
I watched that show today, like the one I was on, and it's so embarrassing. I'm like, I can't even watch it. I'm like, this is so... And people are like, now since the last fight, people are throwing it all over, pieces of it all over the internet. I'm like, please take that down, you know? Think about if anybody you know watches a video from 10 years ago of themselves, you're like, shut up, please. I look stupid, look at my hair, look at whatever. So I watch it, I'm like, man, how stupid.
I hear people say that all the time, you know? Oh, he's a mental fighter, or emotional fighter. I don't even know what the that means. That's the most retarded I've ever heard. Mentally. The only emotions I get is if I lose, I'm pissed, you know?
Look at where I'm at now, I guess it was a good idea.
Yeah,
but
you won the show, first of all.
And then I won the show. And what's funny, too, is like I was so confused and had no concept that what money was and how much what was what. I remember I looked at Dana White, you can see it on the show. At the end, I was like, I'm rich. I never had bought anything more than a pair of shoes, you know. I had plans to go home, like I'm gonna buy my mom a house, I'm gonna buy a Cadillac, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna buy all the freshest gear. I had all these ideas, right? And then I got home and I went to the car dealership and I was like, I want a Cadillac STS, I want this. And the guy who I was talking to, my boy E-Rod, he was like, hey, well, how much money are you thinking about spending? I was like, I'll probably spend like 11, 10 G's. And he's like, come over here. Looked at this old ass Honda Civic. I was like, what am I? There's no Cadillac. I'm not gonna drive that thing. And then I ended up buying the Honda Civic, but it was cool because he tinted the windows and put beats in there for me. So your boy was pumped up, you know. I was like, all right, I'm thumping. So then I just kept fighting, but the money I was making from fighting, and especially when it Friday night bonuses and all this stuff, I was like, wow, I got a career, I got a job, I'm rich, you know. As far as I was concerned, I was traveling and it was crazy.
Did you enjoy getting to go different places, having people notice you, know that you did win this huge competition?
It was weird. It was almost kind of like expected too, though, you know. Like I felt like I was supposed to win all this stuff when it was happening. Like I can't go home and lose. I can't be like embarrassing. I had a lot of people I felt like I wasn't gonna let down. And really nowadays I'm like, I don't like. Who am I gonna let down? Like, you get in here and fight. I didn't even care, no, you know what I'm saying? But at the time, so when it all happened, I was like, yeah, duh, I'm supposed to do that, you know. But it was really exciting to be able to do well for myself as a 20, 22, 23-year-old, because already as a kid being looked at by people like, you know, neighborhood kids, family, and like people were like, we were already little kids, guys, and running around doing whatever we wanted when we were real young. So we were already not supposed to be not much. So when it felt good to do good and be like, yo, we're doing good, you know. And I appreciate stuff that came from like my brother and even the UFC and like stuff that I've had problem with. It's like everything happened for a reason. I think it was all worked out, but at the same time, it's crazy. This whole thing is crazy. You know, you're fighting a cage, but living that is a crazy thing to do.
Hey, I'm not surprised,